It is not looking good for Donald Trump. His health is crashing fast. His physical and cognitive deterioration is obvious for us all to see. But I want to share with you what the creator of the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, the MoCA exam that Donald Trump keeps on bragging about taking, what the creator of the MoCA exam is saying about the purpose of this test, what it is testing, and I want to show you how it's actually administered, because this raises major red flags. I know we all hear about Donald Trump. Every speech now, he brags about cognitive exams. I took this exam. I took that exam. We all know what that exam is. The exam is called the MoCA. That's the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. It was created by a doctor by the name of Dr. Zayed Nasruddin, very well-known neurologist from Canada. And he's been asked a lot lately, can you tell us about this exam? Can you tell us what this is all about? And he gave interviews in the past where he talked about how he created this exam, which is an early detection tool for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson's, for dementia, for other very serious neurological disorders. And it's an early detection tool. It was interesting because I read an article recently about Dr. Zayed Nasruddin. He spoke with an Australian news company, and I wanted to dig deeper, and I wanted to learn about Dr. Nasruddin's research, how he's talked about the MoCA exam before, because this is the exam that Donald Trump says he takes. So I found interviews with Dr. Nasruddin where he talks about the exam, what its purpose is. I want you to hear from him yourself about what this exam is. And then I want to show you how the exam is actually administered, because this is what Donald Trump is doing frequently. You don't take it on your own. You need a group. You know how Donald Trump says, they gave it to me, they administered it to me? It's a group of people who administer it to you, at least one clinician who will administer it to you, sometimes many, and they all assess it in the room depending on, what your responses are. And I think it's also interesting when you also factor in that Donald Trump says he's been getting, these MRIs, which they then said, oh, no, it's not an MRI. It's actually a CT scan. When you watch this, you're going to see the urgent red flags that are being raised. You're going to want to watch the video of Dr. Nasruddin's interview. It's very important. And I want to show you how this exam is administered. So let me just show you first this article from 9 News in Australia. Not a test of IQ. Doctor who designed the cognitive test addresses Donald Trump's boast. Here's what Trump said. I don't want to play Donald Trump's words right now. You've seen me play them over and over again. So I'll just read to you what Donald Trump says. He goes, whenever they get a little sassy, saying, does he still have it? Does it still have what it takes? I say, I'll take another one. Trump pointed out the tests were hard. The first question was very easy. You have a lion, a bear, an alligator, and what's another good one? A squirrel. Which is the squirrel? By the way, there's no squirrel on this exam. By the time you get to the middle, they're very tough. He bragged about the results. One doctor said, it's the first time I've ever seen anyone get all questions right, Trump said. That's a doctor who does this stuff for a living. The test the president's referring to is called the Montreal Cognitive Test, or the MoCA, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. It's a 10-minute test developed by Canadian neurologist Zayed Nasruddin, and it's intended to determine if a person has a condition like Alzheimer's or dementia. You've seen this test before, right? It goes on to talk about how Zayed Nasruddin developed this cognitive test to determine if patients have dementia. Sample questions include drawing an analog clock with the correct time, with points given for correct numbering. Another question is to name as many words as they can in a minute, beginning with the letter B. A failing grade would be less than 11 words. The final questions are to know the date, day of the week, their location, and what city they are in. It wasn't designed to be a test of IQ, Dr. Nasruddin told 9.com Australia. It was designed to assess normal cognitive performance. The test is used in about 200 countries, including Australia. The average person scores 26 out of 30 on the test. Nasruddin said about 10% of people who are Trump's age get all the answers right. I think he's proud he's able to demonstrate that his cognition is fine. Obviously, he likes to maybe boast about it of his age, and people might think that his age, you might have more difficulty with your cognition. Okay. So let me show you now what Dr. Nasruddin said about his exam. This is an interview he gave with McGill University in Canada. And here's what this is a tool for. And this is what Donald Trump says he takes all the time. Let's play this first clip.
The clinician will have a challenge to see, is this the pattern we see in Alzheimer's? Is it a pattern we see in other neurological conditions? And then we have to look at our neurological exam, see if there are signs of Parkinson or signs of normal pressure hydrocephalus. These are different neurological conditions that can affect memory, but they are often accompanied by other neurological signs on neurological exam. We can have also strokes that can affect cognition. So we sometimes look at the neurological exam, see if there are any signs of stroke with an arm that is weaker on one side or a drooped smile on one side more than the other. We also look if the patient has vascular factors that could increase their risk of having a vessel disease in their brain. If they have high blood pressure, diabetes, for example, cholesterol, obesity, or smoking, it can increase their risk of having a vascular cognitive impairment. Sometimes we can have other conditions like heart and lung disease or renal failure that could affect cognition, thyroid problems, B12 deficiencies, increased calcium levels and low hemoglobin levels like anemia can sometimes affect cognition. Rarely we can have brain tumors that can also be coming in the presentation, but usually they don't have only memory issues. Medication is also a big issue. Often sedatives that we take for sleeping or for anxiety or narcotics that we can take for pain can also affect our cognition. Some medication will have anticholinergic effects, meaning that they affect the acetylcholine, which is one of the neurotransmitters involved in attention and memory. So some medications can affect the anticholinergic system, so we have to review those medications. We can also think of other causes of cognitive impairment. Could be stress-related, depression, burnout, or anxiety.
And here he is again also saying what you're testing for when you take the MoCA. Here, play the MoCA, Montreal Cognitive Assessment. Here, play this clip.
Since then, it became the #1 recommended test for detection of early cognitive impairment. We call this MCI, which is mild cognitive impairment, and became not only useful for detecting early stages of Alzheimer's, but also other neurological conditions such as Parkinson that could have cognition affected. In Parkinson, stroke patients also have cognitive impairment, so it became also recommended for those other conditions. And also general medical conditions, for example, heart failure with low output to the brain can have memory issues. Lung disease with poor oxygenation to the brain can have long cognitive impairment associated with it. And also recently with COVID, we've seen many patients having the brain fog after the long COVID syndrome, and the MoCA has been used extensively to detect those subtle cognitive deficits and etc. So now it's being used in 200 countries and 100 languages and dialects, validated in most of those languages. And the test is very well accepted by the scientific community, citing the test in more than 18,000 scientific studies since 2005.
Ever wake up sweaty, freezing, or just uncomfortable? The temperature in your bedroom can make or break your sleep. That's why I switched to Miracle Made sheets. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long. Here's the thing, thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, Miracle Made sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than regular sheets. That means fewer odors, fewer wash cycles, and way less laundry. All that hidden bacteria in regular sheets, it can clog your pores and cause breakouts. Miracle Made's antibacterial design helps you sleep cleaner and clearer night after night. And they feel just as good, if not better, than sheets you'd find at a 5-star hotel, but without that steep price tag. Smooth, breathable, and ridiculously comfortable. Miracle Made sheets are crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature. Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, it doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use promo code Meidas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Meidas, code Meidas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode.
So now I thought I might as well share with you what it's like to take the Montreal assessment. If you want to know what is it actually like, you don't take it on your own. You have to have a doctor asking you the questions. It takes about 10 minutes, and the doctor sits with you, sits with the patient, and here's what happens. This is what Donald Trump says he's doing. Every other week, he says that this is what he's doing. So first, let me show you this clip of the doctor speaking to a patient. Here's just an example of how the MoCA is administered. Play this clip.
We're going to start with some questions. And these questions require a little bit of concentration. Some of them are easy. Some of them are more difficult. Okay? So I just want you to do your best. And if you can't hear me or you need anything clarified, just ask me any question you want to.
Good enough.
Okay. I'm going to give you a pencil first, okay? And I want you to look up in this corner.
All right.
What I want you to do is draw a line from a number to a letter in ascending order. Start at number 1, draw a line from 1 to A to 2, and so on, and end here.
So if it's A, 1 to A, 2 to B.
Yes, exactly. Can you do that now?
Yep. 1 to A to 2, 2 to B, B to 3, 3 to C, C to 4. Wow. Four to D, D to 5. How's that? Oh, and the end.
Good. I told you some of these were a little bit tougher than others.
Okay.
You see this design here?
Yep.
I want you to draw that design in the space provided below.
All right.
Okay. In this space, I want you to draw a clock for me. Make a big circle and put all the numbers where they go. And now, Sam, I want you to set the time for 10 past 11.
This is 10 here.
Okay. Okay. I'll take the pencil back for a minute. Now I want you to tell me the name of this animal.
Lion.
What's the name of this one?
Rhinoceros.
How about this one?
Camelorino. Camel.
Okay. Good.
And here's another example right here of how the exam is administered. So you can just see for yourself what the MoCA is like, how it's administered. It goes on for about 10 minutes. I'm not going to show you the full 10 minutes, but I'd like for you to see how the exam is administered from a scientific perspective. I think we should educate the public what's happening here. Here, play this clip.
Are you ready for the next thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next thing is that I'm going to read you a list of words, and I want you to concentrate because I want you to remember them now and later on. Okay?
I'm bad at that.
That's okay. This is just do the best you can. Okay? So listen carefully to the words, and then you say them back to me in any order.
Okay.
Okay? Here are the words: face, velvet, church, daisy, red. Go ahead.
Face, velvet, Daisy, church, red.
Perfect.
Face, velvet, church, daisy, red.
Yeah. So I'm going to read them a second time, and just like the first, repeat them back to me in any order, including the ones that you said before. Okay? Here's the same list again. Face, velvet, church, daisy, red. Go ahead.
Face, velvet, daisy, church, red.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to remember those again a little later.
Sure you will.
Okay. Here's the next one. I'm going to say some numbers, and I want you to say exactly what I say. You repeat the numbers back to me. Okay? Are you ready to hear them? 2, 1, 8, 5, 4.
2, 1, 8, 5, 4.
Okay.
Now, you've seen on Meidas Health, you've seen us interview Dr. Gupta, who runs Meidas Health, and here's what he told us about the MOCA exam. So here's what he had to say. Let's play this clip. Dr. Gupta, I know you got to run. I just want to close the loop on one more thing. In the experts that you speak to and in your own practice, have you ever heard of somebody taking these cognitive exams that Trump keeps saying he's taking like every 3 months or 6 months? This level of, have you ever heard of that? Like with that level of frequency?
No, nobody takes a Montreal Cognitive Assessment, MOCA for short, which it focuses on recall, memory loss, basic things. Mild cognitive dysfunction is what it tends to sort of screen for. It's not a great tool. No one takes it with this type of frequency. I was on with Nicole Wallace yesterday, and I thought she said it beautifully. You know, saying that you're passing it every other week is not some sort of flex here that he thinks it is. It's an unusual thing to keep boasting about. Doing it as frequently as he's doing makes no sense. I don't know any neurologist that would recommend doing a MOCA with that type of frequency. And again, it's not the flex that I think he thinks it is.
Hey, now that we've seen that, here's just an example of Donald Trump boasting. I'm only going to play a short clip of it, but here he is boasting about what you just saw. Kind of, we'll tie this all together. Let's play it.
I took 3 of them, aced all of them, by the way. 3 of them. You know, I'm the only president to take a cognitive test, because I don't think Obama could pass it. I don't. Didn't he get into Harvard with a C average? I don't know. What's that? I don't think he could pass it. I don't think, well, Biden isn't. Give me a break. You know, the first question is very easy. It's a lion, a giraffe, a bear, and a shark. They say, which one is the bear? And everybody says, oh, 30 questions. Everyone says, very standard. It's a very standard test, but very tough around those last 10 questions. Not too many people, even in this very room, unlike Newsom, I'll say, this room of geniuses. He said, I'm in a room of dumb people. That was not good. That was not good. You know what happened to him after that? It wasn't a pretty, but I'm in a room of brilliant people, but a lot of you wouldn't have been able to answer those 10 questions. And when I got the score in the test, the doctor said, wow, I've never seen, you know, you have 5 doctors lined up. They're all over the place. I said, should I take it? You know, I've had different phases. They've said, he's a mad genius. I didn't mind that too much. Then they said, he's a horrible human being. I don't like that much. Then they said, he's really not a smart person at all. I really hated that. So I took a cognitive test, and I said to the
Well, there you have it, folks. I think from an educational perspective, it's just important that we know what is it that is being tested. What does that test look like? I think now you know when he says, I have the cognitive exams, it's that exam, the MOCA. That's what the MOCA is. I just don't want anybody to be like, what is he referring to? That's the test. You've seen the test. That's how it's administered. All right, hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks everybody for watching.
New Meidas merch. Head to store.meidastouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.meidastouch.com.